Off his Russian businesses, friends whispered that she was raising their son alone. Then came the rumors about a diagnosis. For decades, Seagal played the tough guy who never showed weakness. Now at 73 and isolated in Moscow, he's facing something he can't fight with Aikido. This is the story of a man who built an empire on lies and now has noon left to call. Steven Frederick Seagal was born on April 10, 1952, in Lansing, Michigan, a sickly child wheezing through asthma attacks while the rest of America was chasing post-war dreams. His mother, Patricia, remembered him as puny, a frail kid who struggled just to catch his breath. But when the family moved to Fullerton, California, something changed. That warm California sun didn't just clear his lungs, it seemed to ignite something deeper, some primal desire to never feel weak again. By 5, not 7, like he often claimed, Seagal was already soaking in the tough guy energy of a new coast, a new life. He carried more than just luggage to California. His bloodline, Russian-Jewish from his father's side, with traces of Yakut and Burat ancestry, spoke of wandering spirits and distant frozen lands. But it was in a California kitchen, not Siberia, where things really took a turn. At 13, he lied about this age to get a job as a dishwasher. That's where he met a cook trained in Shikan karate. It wasn't some mystical dojo moment. It was sweat, plates, grease, and a teenager desperate to be more than he was. Some stories say he started martial arts at 7. Some say he trained under legends like Fumio Dura, but the contradictions pile up like broken boards. His high school nickname was Steve Seagal, a dig at his awkwardness and self-mythologizing. Even back then, teachers didn't see a warrior. They saw a kid bluffing his way through half-truths and bravado. He claimed his first black belt came at 15. That's not true. The real date, summer of 1974 when he was 22. It came from Kochi Toi, not some mystical mountaintop master. Harry Ishisaka did teach him Aikido in California, but there's no proof of an early black belt, let alone any legendary combat credentials. In fact, his own ex-wife would later mock the achievement, saying the judge who awarded it slept through Seagal's demonstration. By 1974, Seagal met Mai Fujitani, a secondary black belt and daughter of an Aikido master. He followed her back to Osaka and married her that December. He told people he was on a martial arts pilgrimage, but whispers suggested otherwise, that he was avoiding the Vietnam draft. His Japan story wasn't samurai romance. It was pragmatism and luck. His wife's family owned a dojo. Her father retired. Steven took over. Just like that, the American outsider was now chief instructor. But even that title came with mafia rumors, Yakuza goons showing up to collect debts from Mako's father. Seagal stood them down, or so he claimed. His wife later said it was nonsense. He chased off drunkards, not mobsters. He kept climbing through ranks, but not always by skill. Mako claimed he got his black belt in 1978 because the judge fell asleep during his demonstration. She wasn't joking. This was the same woman who'd sacrificed years of her life, scraping together savings to send him back to America when he declared he wanted to become a movie star. He left Japan in 1982. No goodbye. No divorce, just silence. 2 years later, he married actress Adrienne LaRussa in California. But he was still married to Mako. That's bigamy, plain and simple. He even got model Kelly LeBrock pregnant during the overlap. While the legal drama swirled, Seagal was reinventing himself in Hollywood. He opened Tenshin Dojo in West Hollywood and charged $200 an hour to train celebrities. James Coburn trained there. Sean Connery came through and left with a broken wrist after a sparring session got out of hand. Seagal didn't apologize. It became legend. Then came the defining night. Michael Oitz, the Hollywood super agent, was facing threats. Seagal, now his bodyguard, disarmed 2 intruders at Oitz's mansion. Real or not, the story made waves. Oitz was impressed and grateful. He financed a screen test. Warner Brothers offered Seagal a contract. Just like that, he became a star. In 1987, Above the Law hit theaters. Seagal wasn't just the lead actor. He co-produced. He fought with director Andrew Davis over every detail. He didn't want Hollywood fight choreography. He wanted real Aikido. The film grossed nearly $19 million. Seagal's career launched with a fist to the face and a pledge to keep it real, whatever that meant. But the violence didn't stay on screen. During auditions, he humiliated actors. During filming, he hurt stuntmen on purpose. Rapper DMX, who worked with him on Exit Wounds, said Seagal enjoyed injuring people. It was about dominance, not art. He made people fear him on set, in business and at home. Meanwhile, Mako was left in Japan raising their 2 kids. Their son, Kanero, born in 1975, followed in his father's martial arts footsteps, but earned every belt without shortcuts. He moved to the US, opened his own dojo, and lived a life his father couldn't, one of quiet respect and earned authority. It all began in 1988 when a 6'4" Aikido master with a ponytail walked onto a Hollywood set and turned everything upside down. Steven Seagal wasn't just launching his acting career with Above the Law, he was throwing people through windows for real. Most actors fake fight scenes. Seagal didn't see the point. Who's real joint locks, real throws, real pain. One stuntman left with a dislocated elbow, another a separated shoulder. The director had to bring in extra medics. Studio execs at Warner Brothers were appalled, but the film brought in $18.9 million on a $7 million budget. That was enough for Hollywood to look the other way. Seagal, a 7th Dan black belt, wasn't pretending to be tough. He was tough, and he didn't care if his co-stars paid the price. 2 years later, Hard to Kill cemented his place in the action elite. This time, the pain wasn't just for others. The story of a man waking up from a coma. It came from Seagal's own past. Back in 1985, he'd suffered a brutal spinal injury during an Aikido demo in Japan. 8 months in bed, unable to move. That pain, he brought it to set, but he also brought his usual chaos. In one scene, he threw William Sadler so hard he cracked a rib. The shoot paused for 3 days while Sadler healed. Seagal didn't blink. He said the injury made the movie better. That same movie pulled in $47.4 million. For Seagal, the formula was simple. Real injuries, real money, then came Marked for Death, and with it a cultural storm. Shot in Jamaica, the film hit turbulence fast. Seagal criticized local extras' dreadlocks, calling them unprofessional and demanded they cut them off. That didn't go over well. The extras walked off for 2 days. Production halted. The studio had to increase wages by 40% just to get them back. Meanwhile, Seagal went on Jamaican TV trying to fuse Aikido with local spiritual beliefs. No one was impressed. Locals mocked him. Crew members dubbed him Pony Express, not because he delivered, but because of the ponytail and ego. Still, the film made $58.1 million. But Seagal would never be allowed to film in Jamaica again. By the early 90s, Seagal's paycheck had ballooned to $1 million per film, and his demands exploded with it. A $2.5 million Malibu mansion wasn't enough. He needed daily flown-in Japanese chefs to cook macrobiotic meals, costing the studio $20,000 per week. He wanted a private trailer, incense from Kyoto, handmade Aikido uniforms, and hour-long meditation breaks during filming. These spiritual pauses caused hours of delays. His writer added nearly $300,000 to every movie budget, but his films were still making money, so Warner Brothers kept saying yes. Out for Justice pushed things further. Seagal reunited with his old friend and grappling mentor, Gene Label. Judo gan, but friendship quickly turned to rivalry. Label grew tired of Seagal's bragging. One day, behind the food truck, they grappled. In 30 seconds, Seagal tapped out to a rear naked choke. Red-faced, humiliated, he stormed off set. Years later, Label confirmed the story. The martial arts world took notice. Seagal's legend took a hit. Then came Under Siege, the movie that should have been his crowning achievement. It made $156.4 million worldwide. But behind one iconic kitchen knife fight was another injury. Seagal, once again refusing prop weapons, accidentally slashed a stuntman's hand wide open. No protection, no stunt double, just blood. A knife expert later said the moves were reckless and unrealistic, but box office doesn't care about safety. The movie made $83.3 million in the US alone. Warner Brothers handed Seagal a 4-picture, $16 million deal. He now had the power to fire directors. And he did. On the set of On Deadly Ground, he axed the original director after just 2 days, claiming the guy didn't get Aikido. The budget spiraled past $50 million. Seagal rewrote scripts daily, turned an action flick into a sermon, and forced Warner Brothers to chop down a 40-minute environmental speech to just 10 minutes after test audiences booed. But he still made $3.5 million. Critics hated the film. He called it his masterpiece. Things fell apart fast. One executive decision, Kurt Russell reportedly refused to share scenes with him. Allegations were surfacing. Seagal was becoming toxic. His role was cut short. He was killed off early. When he learned his character was to die from decompression, he locked himself in his trailer until they rewrote it. He was blown into the sky instead. John Leguizamo later revealed that Seagal slammed him into a wall after a joke. Seagal sued the studio for $5 million over his reduced role. They settled privately, and then there was Fire Down Below, a $60 million budget. Seagal weighed over 250 lbs, yet insisted on shirtless scenes. The crew complained. He halted production for 2 weeks, demanding more spiritual dialogue and environmental rants. Warner Brothers cut Most of his films went straight to video after that. In May of 1991, something snapped on the set of Out for Justice. 4 young women, Rayanne Malone, Nicole Sellinger, Christine Keeve, and another who never gave her name, walked off the Warner Brothers lot together and never looked back. They didn't leave over a bad lunch break or long hours. They left because of Steven Seagal. Rain had been brushing her teeth in Seagal's trailer when he yelled for her. She walked out, still brushing. He looked at her and said, "Gee, Ryan, you look like that when I come in your mouth." That was the moment it all broke open. It wasn't the first time. His constant sleazy comments had poisoned the entire shoot. 3 of them threatened to sue Seagal and the studio. Warner Brothers didn't want the noise, so they paid hush money, $50,000 each to 2 of the women under the condition that they keep quiet. But word leaked anyway. By 1992, the tabloids got hold of the story, and the fallout cost the studio over $100,000. That wasn't the end. It was just the start. Jump to 1995. Jenny McCarthy walks into a room to audition for Under Siege 2. She's wearing a long, shapeless muumuu, hoping people will see her as an actress, not a Playboy model. Instead, she finds herself alone with Seagal in a room that has nothing but a fireplace and a couch. He points to the cushion beside him and says, "Sit, relax." She refuses. He tries small talk, fake war stories, glances out of one eye, waiting for her to take the bait. Then he drops it. "This part has nudity. I can't tell what your body looks like in that dress." That was it. She turned and left. Seagal followed her down the hallway, warning her not to tell anyone what happened. She told everyone. That same year, Cheryl Schumann filed a lawsuit that peeled back even darker layers. Schumann was an optician who'd started seeing Seagal during On Deadly Ground. At first, it was just another affair. Then, during a casual conversation about her ex-husband, Seagal said something that chilled her. "For $500, I can get someone to beat the bleep out of him." He then pulled out a gun and told her no one messes with him or the people he cares about. Schumann went on TV and said she saw bruises on Seagal's wife, Kelly LeBrock, while fitting her with sunglasses. A month later, someone attacked Schumann in her Beverly Hills garage. The man said, "You just can't keep your mouth shut." Seagal denied involvement and the courts dismissed her restraining order, but the signs were flashing red. This wasn't just a difficult actor. This was a man surrounded by silence and fear. And then came Saturday Night Live, April 20th, 1991. Steven Seagal was the host, but by Wednesday rehearsals, it was already a disaster. He called the writers idiots, dismissed every joke, and demanded rewrites on every sketch. Bob Odenkirk remembered how Seagal insisted on beating up fictional characters in a Hans and Franz skit because he couldn't handle being portrayed as weak. David Spade called him a black hole of comedy. Lorne Michaels banned him from ever coming back. In later episodes, even SNL mocked how unbearable he was. That single weekend became a cautionary tale across late-night television. By 2010, things were no longer whispers. Caden Ningguan, a 23-year-old model, sued Seagal for $1 million, accusing him of running a sex trafficking operation behind the scenes of his A&E reality show, Steven Seagal, Lawman. She said he flew her to Louisiana, kept her locked in a house, groped her repeatedly, forced her to take pills, and warned her not to speak. 2 other women were allegedly held there too. The show's production was immediately shut down for 6 months. Even though Nguyen later dropped the case without explanation, the damage stuck. Nobody wanted to touch the show after that. Warner Brothers did what many expected. In 1998, after The Patriot flopped, pulling in just $35 million and bankrupting its backer, Inner Light, they dropped Seagal for good. He'd paid for most of the movie himself and filmed it on his ranch in Montana. It went straight to DVD in the US. Interlight collapsed into bankruptcy by 2001, and a lawsuit chain stretched all the way to Disney, ending in a 6